Hi, welcome once again to Latinas Be Like Us. I'm your host, Velu Ochoa, and I'm excited to have Dalma. She is a 5-time award-winning filmmaker who is committed to cultural dialogue and representation. She is Colombian and she is based in Los Angeles. Before we get into the conversation, I want to remind everyone that if you want to learn more about Latinas Be Like Us, please visit latinasbelikeus.com. And if you want to leave a donation, you can go to latinasbelikeus.com/donate. And let's just get into the conversation. Dalma, thank you so much for coming.
Of course, Vel. I'm honestly just so excited. Before we started the podcast, I was telling you that I really admire what you do on social media. I love your personality, and it's great to just meet a fellow Colombian. So thank you for having me here.
Yes. And I mean, coming from a 5-time award-winning filmmaker, I appreciate that very much. So Dalma, how did you get into filmmaking, and what brought you to living in LA, and you're following your dreams? So how was that process?
Well, honestly, Velu, it was something that I always wanted to do. But at the same time, when I say this out loud, I feel that many people in my life didn't know about it. Like, it was something that I held very close and only my family knew about it, because it all started by learning English by myself, watching TV and listening to music. So when I remember my mom just watching movies, Cine Canal. I remember we had that channel back in Barranquilla, and I was just watching movies with her, and she would watch them in English. So I would kind of like match what the actor was saying with the subtitles, and it all kind of started there. It was great to just the power that movies have, right? Like the power of bringing everybody together. It doesn't matter if you speak Spanish, English, whatever, you know what I mean? And it kind of all started there, me being able to like disconnect myself and fully just hop into a completely different world, you know? So if I was worried, even because, you may be a child, but sometimes, I don't know, you're worried about homework, studying, movies were that escape for me. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it in Colombia. You know what I mean? The filmmaking industry is not the largest there. So I knew that it was going to imply for me to, move at some point. And I needed to save a lot of money to do that. But then when I turned 29, I released my first single, Regálame un Like. And it kind of all started from there. It kind of like went from music, because I was a rock musician. I was a rock singer in Barranquilla while being a social media marketer. So I was like navigating between art and the corporate world. And then I was like, okay, do you know what? I'm working for this American company. I'm just going to like propose to them, hey, I want to live in the States. Would you be my sponsor? They said yes. And I was like, okay, time to literally jump, saltarle el barco, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like in a nutshell how it all happened.
Wow, but it seems like all stars align for you. Like it was really meant to happen.
They did, but it was actually a lot of hard work, because I again, like this was a dream that I had in my heart since I was like 6, you know what I mean? And I moved to LA at 29. So if you think about it, it took 23 years, and it took, and again, like, you know what? I think it kind of worked. The fact that I didn't tell anybody at first, you know what I mean? The fact that I held it close, and the fact that maybe I wasn't airing that over and over, because that sometimes, what do you call, you know that saying, like, don't let other people's limitations, kind of like limit your dreams and what you can do. So I feel that the reason why it sounds as if, oh, it's just the line, was because the hard work that I did finally, it's kind of like what people say, luck is when the opportunity meets preparation. So that was what 2021 was for me,
So you mentioned that you didn't say anything to anyone, so only your family.
Yeah.
Was that intentional because of what you said? Because you just didn't want to hear all of those like noisy sounds out there. And, in Colombia, it does happen a lot in terms of the arts. You're going to starve, like, what are you doing? This is not a career. So do you think that it was intentional, or were you just afraid of sharing that with the world, or why did you keep it to yourself for so long?
That's a great question, by the way. I think it was a little bit of intentional, but I think it also came a little bit from trauma, because when I was 17, I went into the X Factor. Remember that show? And I got rejected on national television. So that'll do it. That'll do it for you, especially when.
Wait, so in national television, you got rejected?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Jose Gaviria, Marbel, remember those? All of them. Yeah, and what Jose Gaviria said was, I sang Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I was a child, but I like rock music. And he was like, creo que Freddie Mercury está retorciéndose en su tumba en este momento. So that was the only thing that aired.
Ouch.
Like, exactly. And it didn't like, and that's when I also learned about the industry. And that's at a very young age, because you do sign a contract and they tell you your likeness is ours. We don't have to air your audition. We just have to air whatever and however we want to edit. So I learned that from a very young age. And that's why I'm telling you, it was half intentional and half learning from experience and a little bit of trauma at the same time. Yeah.
Well, and how old were you when that happened?
17.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's rough. And those kinds of programs, they, they're just there to like entertain people, but to really also use people and make fun of their flaws or whatever. So 17, that's also really rough, because that's around when you it's hard to take rejection and it's traumatizing. So
your brain is still developing.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you start doubting yourself, but forget about the X factor. Now you are a filmmaker and you drop that bomb that, I released that single. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, so you're a singer too? I didn't know that, because of course, she sent me a bio and she didn't mention anything about that. So, but you're focusing on filming. Are you still doing music, or are you just, are you focusing on acting and filmmaking?
I am focusing on acting right now, because I was focused on music back in Barranquilla for around 8 years with my cover band, with the single that I told you about. The Lime and Vinegar soundtrack, the movie that I produced last year, I sang in that. And my husband is also a music producer. So I'm a little bit more intentional about what I do with music now. But I would love, at some point, maybe after the festival circuit is done with Lime and Vinegar, I don't know, maybe go back into the studio and release an EP. Because then again, in Barranquilla, it was mostly like I had a bunch of cover bands, So like if you needed a rock band, you were going to call us. So, and then with Regálame un Like, that was, my only single. That was kind of like the only thing I did in a studio. And then the whole soundtrack of the movie. I don't know. I've always wanted to produce like sad music. So I would love to just go into the studio and cry my heart out. And I don't know, write like 5 sad songs that can connect with the world.
Yeah, I love that. So you're like in a very happy relationship, but you love sad music, because why not?
Exactly. Right? Yeah, no rules.
So what's Lime and Vinegar about?
So Lime and Vinegar is about 2 Latina cleaners that get stranded at a house in Venice, and they learn a thing or two about themselves. The way in which this movie came about is the same way that most of the good things in my life happen. Literally an email and somebody telling me, hey, I saw your material. I saw your profile. I think you'd be perfect for this. I would like to talk to you about this, which is really interesting, because in my case, and this as a Colombian, sometimes we feel that we need to work really hard and not stop, right? But sometimes the best things just happen and you don't have to force them. So that's how Lime and Vinegar was born. I met Evan Snyder, the director, and then he was like, hey, so full disclosure, I have an outline for this movie, but the way or the kind of films that I'd like to produce are very slice of life. So I'm into improvising. I'm into having an outline, not a script. So I know that scares a lot of filmmakers. And if you don't want to do this way, I'm totally okay with it. But I loved it. I was like, okay, it's super risky. Let's do it. So then I only at that stage, I was just an actress that was being hired. But then Evan and I would talk almost, every week for the first 3 months. And then he offered me a producer role. And he also offered me to write the outline with him. So all the conversations that you see in the movie, not only are they happening in real time, they also came from real experiences that me and Gisette Redlinger, who's Venezuelan, by the way, had as immigrants in here in the US, And also, I was, and my character, she's also a singer. And Gisette's character, she's a painter. She's a painter too. So it's a slice of life in all the sense of the world, in all the sense of the word. Yeah.
I love that. And how can I watch this movie? Because everyone should watch it.
So check it out. When you make a movie, you want to make money out of it, right? Like going back to what you said, oh my God, people don't want you to be an artist, but you're going to start to that. So there is a method to the madness, like I say. So when you make an independent feature like this one, you want to take it to the festival circuit, right? Because then filmmakers and distributors and leads and people that you still want to, people that you want to work with, right, can watch the film and then you can sell it. Or you can find a partner that can be, someone that can be your partner in the whole distribution world. So right now it's only available in the film festival circuit. We have some online screenings, and there was a live screening last weekend at the Kansas City Underground Film Festival. So knock on wood, and we've also gotten, thank God, 3 distribution offers, but we're really taking our time. I really want the movie to finish the circuit. It's still September, so I want to wait till December, maybe make a decision among, these 3 offers, which one is better. And then luckily in 2025, it'll be available in, major streaming platforms.
What will be your biggest dream accomplished with this film?
Wow, that's a great question. I never thought that we're going to win awards. So I have to tell you that already being like an award-winning actress and producer is a dream come true. If you ask me, I would love for this movie to be on Netflix. But hey, the truth is that when you don't have a really big name attached to a movie, it's really hard to sell it. But managing my expectations and knowing what the cast and crew feel about this movie, I would say that our biggest dream come true would be that everyone in the world has access to it. That'll be my best dream come true. Yeah.
But it's quite impressive that you won Best Actress and Producer.
Yeah.
And which award was this?
So we won Best Drama Feature Film at the 5 Continents International Film Festival. We also won Best Drama Feature Film at the South Arts and Film Academy Film Festival. And then the one for Best Actress was at the Roshani International Film Festival in India, by the way. So that was cool. The funny part is, do you know the city Antigua in Guatemala?
Yeah.
So we're nominated for Best Comedy there. Isn't that interesting? Because our movie is a dramedy. So some festivals take it, really connect with it, like in the dramatic sense. But then like this one that is a Latin American film festival, it's funny because I guess they felt it was the comedy. So that's awesome. I was like, oh my God, that's what's great about art, right? It's just so subjective. Pretty
impressive. Dalma, what is it like being an immigrant, looking back? Now, you are in LA, it seems like it's really happening for you. But looking back, that origin story and being an immigrant, like how do you see that shaping the way that you have grasped on acting and how you got into where you are right now?
I can answer that question in so many different ways. 2 come to mind. When you're an immigrant here in the US, and I love America, I'm not going to lie. Like I told you the origin story. Like I learned English watching TV, listening to music. So I romanticized American culture a little bit. And then when I came here, it was like, but I always try to remember who I am. You know what I mean? Because you can get a little bit, there are so many things that I have here that I didn't have 5 years ago. So I start there. I just try to remember who I am. And then the second thing is, it's not perfect, right? Like it's not perfect. I face some discrimination, and perhaps when you're an actress, for me at least, the most difficult thing is when your agents and your managers only seem to send you roles that are very limiting, because the first thing they say, it's like Latina, Hispanic, you know what I mean? And hey, yes, I am Latina, Hispanic, and I'm very proud of that, but that is not the only thing I am. You know what I mean? Never had I experienced what you experience here in the US, and that is people really want to put you in a box. You know what I mean? For how you look, for what you sound like. So that's why I told you, like, I really have to be grounded on who I am. So nobody just tries to, try to put me in a box if I'm trying to make any sense. So it's very bittersweet. And honestly, like, everything has happened so fast, and I'm the kind of person that, I'm into self-improvement, I'm into mindfulness, but I also work really hard. And to be honest with you, Belu, like, it's been 3 years and a half and I'm still processing many things, in my content. What I do is that I try to talk about, staying true to yourself and never letting, again, like I said at the beginning, never letting other people's limitations limit who you are. And also be yourself. You know what I mean? No matter what you sound like, no matter what just say it, that's what helps for me. I hope I answer your question. It was kind of a difficult question to answer.
Yes, no, definitely. I want to go back to that, putting people in a box. And I think it also comes with the type of career that you have. If you could describe it, how would you describe the ugly parts of what it's like to follow that path? And how do you fight that? Because you're saying, stay true to yourself, but what are some of the things that, besides the managers and the agents trying to like put you in that box, like what are some of the ugly things that people don't really see, right? Because everything it's edited, everything it looks to be pretty. So
I would say microaggressions. There are a lot of microaggressions that really happen. You know what I mean? Things that are not supposed to be said and everything. I would say that here in LA, it's not so bad because, people here are very, afraid of being canceled and everything. And then I would say that you are selling your consciousness, when you are an actor. And that is something that a lot of people maybe don't understand, because I can be sad today. And I have to play someone that just, I don't know, won $1 million. So like, I am using my emotional energy, all right, so I can give it to you. You know what I mean? Even in an audition for free, because that's another thing. Like, that is 90% of an actor's job, auditioning and getting rejected over and over and over and over and over. And the worst part, you don't even get a no. It's just silent. They only answer you if you got the role. But if you don't hear from that casting director ever again. So this is not a job for everybody. You really have to be true to yourself. You have to be very authentic. You have to be very confident. And most importantly, you cannot attach your own value to how many roles you get, or if somebody thinks you're pretty, or if somebody thinks you're talented. Like, that validation needs to come from you. So that's definitely one of the ugly parts. Like, I've had friends, people that I've known when I arrived here in 2021 that are not here anymore. They just decide to leave, go back to where they came from because the pressure is too hard. And something that I do that really helps me is to take breaks. Right now, I'm taking a break. Like, I signed that contract. I'm going to make that movie next year. But right now, I'm, tapping into my marketing roots again. I love creating content. I love producing content. So right now I'm doing that because back in August and July, I didn't feel good about the whole acting thing. So it's really being self-aware. I've always said self-awareness is a superpower. And the more self-aware you are, the better you're going to do in this industry. Because it's what do you call it? Es una carrera de resistencia, no de velocidad.
Yeah. So it sounds like you really need to have a lot of resilience and
Yes.
and really, really, really have a lot of love for yourself. And I think that's why it's so hard for so many, because I don't know if they really know themselves.
Totally. Amen. I got goosebumps hearing you say that. It's so true.
And what you said about, you're giving energy to that audition. And it's not only the audition, it's like you're giving energy, like whenever you create content, whenever you are performing, whenever you are acting in that moment for that movie. That's really what you produce. That's your product. That's energy, emotions.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't really realize that, and the amount of work that really comes into that.
100%. And then, it's hard when people, that's why, like, when people ask me, like, oh my God, but like, isn't making any money, blah, blah, blah. Like, you really have to be resilient, like you said. You really have to know where you're investing your energy. Like, okay, this deserves it. This person doesn't deserve it. This role deserves it. This audition doesn't deserve it. So, yeah.
Do you think that you feel like, are you in a position where you can choose what auditions you can go or you want to go to, or like did you get to that point already? Or have you made a decision of like, this is where I want to be in my life?
You know what? The reason why the answer is yes is because acting is not the only thing I do. What really makes me happy is to use all my talents. And I love creating content. I am a social media marketer. So the reason why I get to be intentional, and I also feel the reason why my acting career is shaping to be the way that I want is because the money doesn't only come from there. So I am able to use the rest of my talents, whether it's social media marketing, content producing, even speaking, or writing. And that removes the pressure from here. And that allows me to say, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait.
So you kind of have that power of choosing because you're tapping into other creative outlets, because all of them are creative. Like social media, content creation. So it's really a full circle of what you are choosing in terms of the kinds of income that you're getting. So
exactly, correct.
I think a lot of people always kind of try to figure out how to get into acting, right? It gets hard. Like I can't just do this. And how am I going to eat? Yeah. Or like, how am I going to? So from your experience, from doing all of this, from being able to tap into all your different creative outlets, what would you tell to those people on where can they start?
There are two ways to do it. If you really love acting and that is where all your joy comes from, you can 100% live off of acting only. I have friends here that do background acting, voice acting, video game acting, commercial acting. There's a lot of money in commercial acting. You know what I mean? So if you want to put all your energy into that, that's what I would suggest you do. Okay. Like literally don't say no to anything. But then again, if your happiness comes from there, then it makes sense, But then the second way, which is the one that I'm following, is, ask yourself, where does joy come from me? Like where does joy come from? Like for me, what am I good at? Like, is acting the only thing I'm good at? Is it really? For most people, it's not. So, like you said it perfectly. It's about the creative outlets that you're able to monetize, So, and again, that has paid off. That has paid off for me even before coming to LA. Because in Barranquilla, I even taught English. Like from 15 to 25, I was teaching English and I was singing rock music. And then I decided to stop teaching English because I already had, 3 years of experience doing social media marketing, and that's where I wanted to do, so it was like transitioning. So don't be afraid to transition, I would tell you. And if you can have, and like Rick Rubin says, if your money, at least at the beginning, can come from something different to the art, so you don't put so much pressure on that art's going to be even better and you're going to feel happier.
And if you really think about it, I mean, none of the famous actors or singers are only doing acting.
Exactly.
They have businesses, they have brands. And I think at this point, like people in sports, it's just nobody's doing that.
Exactly. Everybody's a multi-potentialite. Yeah.
Exactly. And people are really tapping into what other, ways of income they can get, because they know that acting or being creative is not the only thing.
Exactly.
So I think it's kind of like a myth saying that you only, like this is it. Like, you're only singing and this is it. I've known plenty of people that are exactly doing the same thing as you are. And I am one of those. I'm exactly on that same boat. So moving forward, I want to know what's your process for preparing for a role? Like how do you get ready?
I love writing. I love it. Like I love psychology so much. Actually, my favorite part of acting is this. My favorite part of acting is script analysis. I have goosebumps talking about it like right now because I love reading the script. I love understanding my character, and I love choosing the acting technique I'm going to use. You know what I mean? Okay, here I'm going to use emotional memory, or here I'm going to tap into what Meisner said, or you know what I mean? So I just love fleshing out the character, writing about it. It's all imagination work if you think about it. So this is actually, I wish I could show you my first notebook, the one that I used 2022 and 2023. This is 2024, but this is my favorite part. And you really want to prepare yourself as much as you can. So then when you're on set, it's just your subconscious what's working. It's kind of learning the steps when you're dancing, and then when you're there in the show, you're just like dancing because you know exactly what to do. So that's my favorite part.
Well, I like the color of the book, by the way. I mean, it's purple, my favorite.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. Get acquaintance with the character, like really familiarize, understand where all the feelings and emotions are coming from, understand why they are acting like they're acting. That's fascinating. I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Dalma, what's happening then? Okay, besides the like the film, getting all these awards and waiting for the cycle to be over, what's happening with Dalma end of 2024, coming 2025? What are your goals? I know that you're wanting to take a break. Besides that, what's going on?
So to be honest with you, Belu, I want to work a little bit on myself a little bit more. You said that it was a myth to only do one thing. And guess what? Because I had always been doing like several things at the same time. Last year, I quit this corporate job that I had, the one that sponsored me for coming here and everything. The cycle was closed. You know how that goes. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I'm only going to try to act. And that's it for this year. Hey, and honestly, like, because of everything that I explained to you today, nothing related to Lime and Vinegar, but just like acting, auditioning, everything, like that pressure, all of that. I was like, you know what? I think I'm happier when I'm literally using all my talents and not only focusing on one. So for me, that was self-discovery. And the more you discover yourself, the happier you are, the more self-aware you are. And let's just say that there are some things that I want to continue working on so I can show myself, as a better human, but also as a better professional. And here's the thing about acting, like the more you do that and the more know who you are, the better your characters are going to be. Because the more emotional memory you're going to have, the more life lessons you're going to have, and you're going to be able to borrow that to the characters. So honestly, goals will be just, being a better wife, being a better daughter. My family's going to come and visit in December. I want to have a lot of money so I can take them out. So those are the expectations I have.
That sounds perfect. Yeah. That sounds perfect to close the year.
Yeah.
To finish this, what would you like people to know about Dalma in a couple of sentences? Like, what would you like them to know?
There's no such thing as an overnight success. Never judge a book by its cover, and hard work will always pay off sooner or later.
I'm going to write that down immediately. I mean, I've heard it before, but yes, it is a good reminder. Also true. I want to thank you for being here, for telling me your story. Hopefully, I'll be able to see Lime and Vinegar at some point. I would love to. That sounds like a great movie, and I wish you the best on all the other things. I'm wishing you peace for the end of the year.
Thank you so much.